Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches TEMURAH Daf Yud. We are holding 8 lines off the top of the Yomit. Here comes an interesting shaila. You know, there are certain halachas that are applicable only to the owner of a korban, namely the chaimesh add-on, the extra fifth that he has to add when he redeems that blemished korban. That pertains only to the owner. Now let's say you have Reuven sponsoring a korban on behalf of his friend Shimon, who is considered the owner with respect to the chaimesh add-on. Is it Reuven who's actually financing the korban, or is it Shimon who's benefiting from the kapara? He's the owner of the hakrav, of the kapara, and in turn he would have to add the fifth if he comes to redeem the korban. By Rami Barcham, says Rami Barcham, I have a question for you. Magdish, Reuven the financer, is Ma'isiv Chaimesh? Because he's actually making the Hegdish happen. So he's the owner. And if he comes back to redeem this animal that he was Magdish and then got blemished, he would be Ma'isiv the Chaimesh, or Mischaper Ma'isiv Chaimesh. Or is it Shimon, the one getting the kapara, that would add the fifth? Amar Rava, Amar Krov, look at the pasuk. V'ma Magdish, the one that's making the hegdish. Yigal basically comes to redeem the property that he was Magdish. He'll add a fifth. Magdish. Clearly, it only applies to the Magdish himself. V'loi mischaper, as opposed to the mischaper, Shimon, who's benefiting from the kapara. So it's clearly pertaining to the actual Magdish. Boy Rami Barcham. Here comes another question, which is related. We have Reuven making hegdish on a korban, but it's on behalf of Shimon, and now it's TEMURAH time. Somebody decides to make a TEMURAH. We know that, again, that's only something that the owner can do. Who's the owner? Reuven or Shimon? Boyram Barchama, Magdish Oiset TEMURAH, or Mischaper Oiset TEMURAH, or Marava. I think I can prove this point. I can confirm that, in fact, it's the Mischaper, the one benefiting from the kapara, and not the one actually making the hegdish. Because otherwise, there's a girsa pshita, of course, the Mischaper is a TEMURAH, of course it's the Mischaper. Who's in charge of the TEMURAH? The ha-magdish is a TEMURAH, so all this is added on the side, there's a girsa. Because otherwise, if it's the one actually making the hegdish, you'll find it something inconsistent. Because we know that only a korban yachid can make a TEMURAH, but not a tzibur, not a collective korban, not a korban owned by shutfin. Now, if the TEMURAH making ability is related to the Magdish, the one making the hegdish, not the mischaper, I can have a situation where it's a korban tzibur which will make a TEMURAH. You know how? They assigned a shaliach to be Magdish their korban. So in this case, despite the fact that it's a korban tzibur, it's owned by the many and it's machaper the many, but the fact is that if it's all about the Magdish, and the Magdish is a single person, so then you would be able to make a TEMURAH off this korban. And this is not really consistent with the Mishnah later. Now, if you'd gimel that a korban tzibur or korban shutfin can't possibly generate a TEMURAH. But if the TEMURAH halacha is dependent on the identity of the Magdish, then you could have a korban tzibur making a TEMURAH by way of the individual that was Magdish it. In kain matzinu tzibur, you can have the public, v'shutafin, or partners, oisen TEMURAH, making TEMURAH through having the hegdish being done by an agent. For instance, if they appointed a shliach like to make their hegdish, in which this case, he is considered the owner with respect to Temurah, and he can make the Temurah despite it being a korban tzibur. So apparently, if we know that there's an established halacha, there's a rule that a korban tzibur, korban shitzim cannot generate a Temurah, apparently it's because the Temurah ability hinges upon the identity of the mischaper, which in this case is a tzibur and shutfin, which disallows Temurah v'oid. Another proof, says Rava, that it's the mischaper making the Temurah. The Amar of Nachman, Amar of Huna. Tana, we have a brais which relates to the nazir and the karbonos that he brings at the end of his nazirus process. It says karbonai l'Hashem al nizroi, right? The carbon to Hashem on account of his nazirus milvad asher tasik yodai, and it relates to something relating to financial abilities, which is interesting because v'chi nazir nidan b'hesek yad. Is the nazir's karbonos dependent upon his financial abilities? Meaning, in some cases, some other karbonos, we do find a fluctuating fluid system where the standard of the carbon is dependent upon his ability to pay, but not by the nazir. It's a standard carbon. It's going to be an animal for an asham, an animal for a chatas, an animal for. Okay, so what then does the pasuk mean by referring to his financial standing? Asher tasig Karbon el Hashem al Nizrei. That is his karbanis for the Nazirus shehifrish mishaloi. So the pasuk here is addressing two variations, two forms of standard karbanis nazir. We're not giving him any discounts, any downgrades, any birds, and it's all animals. Top standard. But there are two variations. There are two formats. One is Shefresh Mishaloi. So Nazir was able to buy it on his own. Okay, that's one option. The second part of the pasuk, is speaking, where he couldn't afford it on his own, and others had to finance his karbanos. So he was sponsored by somebody else. Shefresh Le'achir. Now, what's the point? Why does the pasuk have to refer to a nazir being sponsored by others? To tell us that it works? Of course. I mean, it's a gift. A person could buy me a gift, buy me a carbon. Why not? So what's the point? Is it to teach us that you can get your kapara through a sponsorship? Why not? Pshita, of course. The mechapel, of course, it works for him. Rashi says it's a matana, it's a gift. Ella linyan temurah. Apparently, the pasuk is teaching halacha regarding temurah. The pasuk means like this. So just as when you self-fund your karbanos, you can make it temurah, because you're the owner, you're the machar. Likewise, even on that second option, that his karbanos were financed by others, he is the owner with respect to temurah. Why? Shmamina, we learn from here, we follow the meschaper. He's considered the owner with respect to the temurah. Lai says the Gemara, no, who says that the pasuk is relating to that? Le'inyan kapara, perhaps the pasuk is telling us, it's teaching us that a nazir can have his karbanos sponsored, and it works. Now, as to your question, isn't this obvious? Not so quick. Regarding your question, matana, they're gifting it to him. What's the big deal? No, maybe it has to be personal. Ilav the Rabbi Rachmana. If not for the Torah, spelling it out, that this is also an option. You can have your karbanos sponsored. I would perhaps consider otherwise. Havamina. Perhaps the Torah is insistent that it has to be his. Karbanoi, mididei, has to be self-financed. That's how it works. You can't have kapara through others, in this case of a nazir. Kamashmon comes to the pasuk and says, no, you can. Bottom line, Allah. What's our conclusion regarding this question? Who has the power to make a temurah? The Magdash or the one who owns the kapara tashma? Here's your answer. So we have a statement in the name of Rabbi Yechanan relating to three halachas, three separate halachas, the middle one of which is relating to us. we were going to learn that in fact the mischaper is deemed the owner of the kapara, of the kedusha, and he is the one that makes the temurah. Toshma damar avo, Rabbi Avo quotes Rabbi Yechanan. So regarding determining the owner with respect to the chaimish add-on, is it the sponsor or the one who's benefiting? Magdish Meisev chaimish, like we said before, it's the magdish that adds the chaimish. Regarding the temurah question, it's the mischaper, it's Shimon, the one who's getting sponsored. And a third halacha, also relating to one person doing something on behalf of the other. This one regarding teruma, not temurah, but teruma. Let's say Reuven decided to take from his crop, his produce, and do some teruma on behalf of his friend's crop. So, the question is, whose choice is it to choose the recipient? And it can actually benefit him some, because you can get a little bonus payment from the grandfather. Will say, listen, you have some. I see you have a lot of truma sitting there. I happen to have a grandson, a kohen. I'm not a kohen. My grandson is my daughter's son. Here, take $5, and I'll give you the address. So that that slight benefit belongs to the one who actually sponsors the truma. Look, it's your truma, shalois. Even though you're doing it on behalf of the other person, but the fact is, it's your material, and you get the tevis hana. My timer. You know why? You can think perhaps otherwise. I understand it's your truma, but it's your material. But whose truma is it? It's truma on behalf of that person's crop. Technically, it's part of that crop. But we have a pasuk, which gives you the right, which gives you an element of ownership. My timer, damakra, es kol maser tvoskav nasata. Who's the nasata? Who has the prerogative to choose his recipient? Es kol maser tvoskav, the one who's the owner of the actual maser material, the tvua, which in this case is Reuben. So, in conclusion, who's deemed the owner? Regarding chaimish, the magdish. Regarding temurah, the mischaper. Regarding tevas sana of the truma, the Torah. Continues the Mishnah. In order to make a temurah, it has to be a temurah on a full animal, coming from a full carbon animal. So an animal from an animal. It can't be part of an animal coming off, or the uber, an unborn fetus inside an animal. You can't make that into temurah, and nor can the part of a carbon generate temurah on another animal. Nor can the uber, an unborn fetus inside an animal, which happens to be a kaddish, you can't use that as a generator of temurah on another animal. It has to be that you're substituting, you're designating as temurah a full animal coming off a full carbon animal as well. So we have all kinds of variations. Ein memirun, you can't make a temurah loy, a varn, you can't designate the leg, right, the limbs of your animal as a temurah bu baran, in exchange for the ubar, the unborn kaddish animal inside the mother animal. Below you baran, nor can you designate the unborn fetus inside your animal as a temurah bevarim, of the limb, a temurah off the limb of a carbon animal. So basically, you're taking the carbon, you're saying the limb of this animal should generate a temurah on the ubar that I have alongside it. You can't do that. V'lo ubarin vevarim. Nor can you designate the ubar, the unborn animal, as a temurah, or the aver of your animal as a temurah b'shleim, in exchange for a full carbon animal. V'lo shleimim bahem. Nor can you take a full chulin animal, say, well, I want this to become a temurah of a ubar that's kaddish, of an aver that's kaddish. V'lo shleimim bahem. Bottom line, it has to be a full animal off a full animal. Rabbi Yossi Eimer, he takes issue with the aver, with the partial animal. He says, what's wrong? Rabbi Yossi Eimer mirin avarim v'shleimim. So if you have a shalom, you have a oila standing in front of you, a full animal, I can point to my chulin animal and say the leg of that animal will become a temurah, because you know what happens? Inevitably it's going to spread. Once I'm magdish the leg, the whole animal becomes kaddish. So ultimately, it's going to become a full animal temurah. But I agree, but in the reverse, I agree it doesn't work. You can't take a full chulin animal and say, I want it to be a temurah of the leg of the carbon. A leg can't generate a Temurah. And Rabbi Yossi presses this point further. He says, Amar Rabbi Yossi, just like when you're Magdish, initially. If a person says, the leg of this animal should become an oila, you know what happens? Do you think it stays limited to the leg? Of course not. The entire animal becomes an oila. Likewise, when I designate the leg as the Temurah, it spreads and the whole thing becomes a Temurah. The leg of this animal should become a Temurah off the carbon there. The whole animal becomes a Temurah. So it works. Speaking of unborns, here comes an interesting machlekes. Question: can a person designate the ubar, the unborn fetus inside a behemah, as a carbon? Just the ubar. Can I do that? Itmar. We have machlekes. Bar Pada Amar, no way. Ein kedusha chala alubar. I could not point to an expectant animal and say, bypass the mother. I just want to be mekadosh the ubar as an oila, as a shlamim, so that when it's born, right, it will be brought as a carbon. You can't do that. Rabbi Yechon Amar, you could. The ubar is its own animal, its own person, its own independent entity. Kedusha chala alubar. There's a famous machlekes many times in the Gemara regarding the status of an ubar. And Rabbi Yechon says, ubar lav yerach imuhu. An ubar is not considered like the extension of the thigh of the mother. It's not one and the same as the mother. It's his own thing. So you can choose to be mekadosh just the ubar, separate from the mother status. Papada says it's all intertwined and connected. Ubar yerach imuhu, in which case, unless the mother is going to be kaddish as well, you can't just be mekadosh the ubar separately. Says the Gemara, actually Rabbi Yechon himself taught us a similar halacha, which is based on the same premise. It's a different application. V'azza Rabbi Yechon tamei. Rabbi Yechon, who says that you can be mekadosh the ubar separate from the mother, is consistent with his own view, stated elsewhere. Dam Rabbi Yechon, higdish chatas muberes v'yolda. Halacha is, if one has a korban chatas, and the korban chatas became expectant and they gave birth, so we have a vlad of achatas. The halacha is, you can't be makriv, it goes lamisa, you let it die. The halacha meshim Sinai, it goes lamisa. However, and also let's say a person was magdash achatas and he lost it, and he had to do another one instead, and he found the first one, again, it goes lamisa. In some cases, and there's all kinds of halachas regarding that. So what happens if he's higdish chatas mu'beres? So he was magdash an animal which had already been carrying an ubar, and he made it into a chatas in that state. Higdish chatas mu'beres. V'yolda now gave birth. So he has two, the mother and the offspring. Question: is it considered like a vlad chatas and is left to die? No, says Rabbi Yechanan, because when he was magdash the mother animals achatos, there were two kedushas happening simultaneously. He was initiating two karbanos at the same time, one on the mother, one on the offspring, one on the mother and one on the uber inside the mother, and it was a separate, distinct kedusha, because the uber is not tied to the mother. Its kedusha is not linked to the mother. So it's like he was magdash two karbanos at the same time, just for security purposes, just in case one gets lost. In that case, it's not considered like, it's not left to die, it's a whole different system. In that case, you take one and the other one, let it get blemished, and the money you send to the, Beis Hamikdash for Nadava, for Karbanis Tzibur. Right? So Rabbi Yechon holds that just as when you earmark two separate animals for security purposes, it works. The same thing with a mother who's already carrying an uber. It's as though he set aside two separate animals. Higdash chatas muberes v'yolda. So now he has a choice in the matter. Rotza, if he wants, ba mischaper, he can get his kapara through the mother. It's his choice. Rotza, b'vlada mischaper, he wants to use the vlad as his kapara, great. Why? This is consistent. This is in line with Rabbi Yechon's opinion. in how he views an uber. It's a separate entity. So, for all practical purposes, he was magdish two separate animals for his chatas kapar. Utzricha. Now, why does Rabbi Yechon, in fact, have to teach us the same halacha twice? First, he teaches us that a person can simply initiate a kedusha on just the uber, separate from the mother. Then we have the other halacha that he was magdish chatas mu'beres. The mother and the offspring within it gets kaddish, and it's like two separate kedushas, which is pretty much based on the same premise that the uber is a separate being from the mother. But tzricha, both are needed. Each one has its own lesson. The yashmina bahach kamaisa. Had he only told us that first halacha, hasamu da agdashay, we turned on the base. Lubra, gufe. There, in fact, he directed his hekdesh at the uber itself. He declared the uber should be kaddish. Okay, so then I understand the uber becomes kaddish. Yeah, aval da agdashay li'ime. But in the second case, by the chatas, he was magdish the mother, who happened to be carrying an uber. Ema, perhaps in that case, I would say the child, the uber, draws kedusha from the mother, rather than having his own independent status. Ema, hu b'chlal imay. The uber is included in the kedusha of the mother, but like kaddish doesn't have his own kedusha. And the answer is he does. V'yashminut basrais. On the other hand, they only told us that second halacha to teach us that the uber gets its own kedusha. Hasam with the agdish chodis, because over there it works. Since he was magdish the mother, v'chol the isba, anything within it. So the hekdesh is applied to the mother, to the offspring. Great. Havalach, but in the first case, the agdish lay, where he only directed the hekdesh at the uber, who says it works? Even the less Ebrei, since the uber is not outside, it's within the mother. Like kaddish, who says it gets kaddish? Like kaddish, you can't be magdish an unborn entity. That's what I would think. Tzricha. Hence, the need for both halachis, whether he was magdish the mother with the whole package, or his kedusha was limited to the uber. Either way, we say the uber is a separate entity, it can have its own kedusha. That's Rabbi Yechon's opinion. Lishnachrin, there was another, slightly different version of this, last discussion, Mai Kamash Malon. So initially, Rabbi Yechon told us that you can be magdish just the uber separate from the mother. Then we have the second halacha that if he's magdish the mother and the chatas, so it covers the uber as well. Mike Mashman, what's the point of that second halacha? Imshira, that the uber is so separate from the mother that theoretically, if he decides to keep it out of the hegdish, it would stay out. Because like we said before, the uber is not considered one and the same as the mother. So you can separate it, leave it out of the picture, or if you choose to be magdish the mother and the uber, it's two separate, distinct, independent kedushas. But tati lamli, so why repeat this halacha again? It's simply a repetition of the first halacha. Tzricha, both are needed. Had we only discussed the second case of the chatas mu'beres, I would say mishum the imei chazal gufei. Over there, the uber gets kedusha because the mother animal is suitable for kapara. Umigu the nachsa kedusha la, and since the kedusha gets applied to the mother, nachsa nami levlad also gets applied to the vlad, independent of the mother. Aval idach, in the first case, where he was only magdish the uber in the mother, and he left the mother out of the picture, loy, perhaps in that case you can't, x-ray your hegdish straight into the uber, bypass the mother. Kamashmon the hada, comes the first halach and says you could. Because the uber is a separate entity, it can be magdish even in its unborn state. On the other hand, we only discussed that first case, of being magdish the uber mishum. They come mefarish kedusha ala vlad. You know why it works? Because he specified, I want the vlad to be kaddish. Avalahi, but in the second case where he was just magdish the mother who happened to be expecting, he didn't specify kedusha directly on the vlad. Like perhaps the uber does not become kaddish at all, tzricha. Hence the need for both halachas, which are really based on the same premise, that according to Rabbi Yochanan, the uber is a separate entity and can have its own kedusha, as opposed to Bar Pada, who disagrees. He says the uber is so intertwined with the mother animal, and it shares, its same fate. It doesn't have its own independent status vis-a-vis hekdesh. Now come a string of kashas on Bar Pada. Yosef Rab Zera, V'ka'am Allah Hashmata. Rav Zera is sitting and saying, the halacha Bar Pada, the uber is so linked with the mother and doesn't have its own identity. Eisvei Rabbi Yirmiyah, he had a question, Rabbi Zera. I have a kasha on Pada's opinion, because we have a Mishnah later. Mariman al Bechor. How does a person bypass the Bechor obligation? he's expecting a firstborn kosher animal. How does he bypass the obligation to give it to the kohen? You know what he does? Hamvakeres. She notices his animal giving birth for the first time. Shoysim uberes, right? So it's her first time expecting. Omer, he says, I may as well get some credit for that bechor. Instead of giving it to the kohen, may as well have it as a carbon. He says, Masha b'me'eh shel zu oila. Whatever's inside this mother should be an oila. And until it's born, it's not yet kaddish as a bechor, so you can quickly bypass it and make it into an oila. And in fact, that's the halacha. Yolda zachar. If she gives birth to a male, harezu oila, it's an oila. Alma, what do we see? Kaddish ubar. You can be mekadesh and ubar even in its unborn state. That's a kasha Rapadu who says you can't. Amar lei kimetanya hi b'kedushas tam. Said Reb Zera. Well, that Mishnah is not endowing the ubar with kedushas mizbeach. It's not making it suitable for her carbon. You can't do that. Kedushas damim at most. It will be monetarily committed to the oila system. So you take it and sell it, buy with an oila. And even Rapada agrees you can do that. He says you can't be magdish an uber lemizbeach as a carbon, but you can magdish anything for bedek habayis, for the treasury, even a piece of wood, right? So of course you could do an uber as well. Says the Gemara, but does that accomplish his intention? He was trying to bypass the chiyuv of bechor. So if you make it to a carbon, great, but mi'alima kedushas damim, do you think kedushas damim is so powerful it can override kedushas bechor, the kamafkele min ha-bechora? He says, yeah, I'll prove it to you that it could. That kedushas damim can also interfere with the kedushas bechor and override it. But now I have a Mishnah back in bechoras. Kol kachem shekadam mum kavua, like Deshan. You have karbonis whose permanent blemish preceded their becoming hegdish, which basically means they never had a chance to go on the mizbeach. At most, they were monetarily committed to the cause. They were kaddish, a very low level kedushas damim, and then they were redeemed v'niftu chayavim b'bechira. So they're back on the farm, and if they give birth, the firstborn is kaddish. Uvematana is likewise if you shecht, you have to give the portions to the kohen, right? What do we see? These halachas only kick in because he's back on the farm. Time of the sheniftu, it's only because they were redeemed, so it's back on the farm. The chayav, and that's why they're obligated to all these halachas. Avokadim sheniftu, but prior to redemption, where they still retain kedushas damim, they're exempt from everything, including bechor. Alma, what do we say? Dalima kedushas damim, the mafkalei midim bechor. Clearly, kedushas damim has the ability to override bechor. Eisvei comes another kasha that I asked regarding the opinion of Padu, who says you can't single out the ubar for kedusha separate from the mother. Here comes a brisa. So he has this animal carrying an unborn animal, and he says, "Mashe b'meiyah shel zu oila." I want to pledge as an oila what's inside this animal. Mutaras begiza. So the mother animal is still mundane. It's chulin. You can shear its wool, but vasura ba'avoida, you can't work with her, because it's going to weaken the fetus inside, and that's hegdish. Misham kichosh, because of the weakening of the uber shabbat, the uber within her. So clearly, one can be magdish and uber separate from the mother. Amalei, he says, "Arnamik kedushas damim." Here as well, we're not talking about kedushas mizbeach as a carbon. Rather, he's just donating it to the Beis Hamikdash. Now you can do. Umi alima kedushas damim da'asir le'bavoida. So is that so that when something is merely kedushas damim, you can't work with it? The issue of working with an animal is only, I would think, is only kedushas mizbeach. Amalei says, yeah. Actually, it is. It's also made the Rabbanon to work with it. But Tanan, we have a Mishnah, which is that Mishnah we quoted before, that when you have an animal which is merely kedushas damim, and you redeem it, yoitz in the chulin, so it's back on the farm, ligazes, li'ovid, like any other animal, share it, work with it. Apparently, before redemption, you can't work with it. Taima, mishum sheniftu, you can only do that because you already redeemed it. It's back on the farm. Hakad sheniftu, before redemption, asur mavad, you can't work with it. Kedushas damim, the asur libavad, apparently, even when it has kedushas damim, you can't, work with it. Eisvei comes another kasha that he asked him. So you tell me you can't designate an ubar as a carbon without the mother? Eisvei comes a kasha from our Mishnah. Mishnah says like this: Ein memirin in order to generate a TEMURAH, you have to have a full carbon, and use this full carbon as a generator of TEMURAH on a full chulin as well. You can't do parts and pieces, right? So you can't do that. And the Mishnah continues. Let's say you have a full chulin animal. You can't say, I want it to be a TEMURAH off the ubar of a carbon. So you have a ubar, an unborn animal, which was designated as a carbon, that cannot be used as a source, as a generator of TEMURAH on a chulin animal. So it sounds like it's a TEMURAH issue. In order to generate a TEMURAH, you have to have a full animal on hand. But technically, you can have an uber, which is kadosh. You can't make a TEMURAH from an uber, but an uber can become kadosh. And when we say kadosh, we're speaking about the highest level kedusha saguf. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about making TEMURAH, right? Unlike Barpada, who says you can't apply kedusha mizbeach to an uber. Amar lei. So Reb Zera responded, no, let me answer you on this one too. Barpada is speaking about b'makadish just the uber. He was speaking about a carbon that was kaddish, and it became expectant. So you have a mother, a carbon, who has an offspring within it. So of course, in this case, the vlad, the uber, is kaddish. I'm talking about being Makadish the uber separate from the mother. Here we're talking about a mother animal which is already Kaddish. So her Vlad, of course, has Kedusha as well. That's the Gemara. Okay, Iba Vlad, if we're talking about the offspring of an existing carbon, Iba Vlad Kachim. So the Mishnah says you can't use that uber as a generator of TEMURAH, indicating that it's only because it's as yet unborn. In which case it doesn't have the ability to initiate a TEMURAH. That uber cannot generate a TEMURAH while still in the mother. But that implies that once it's born and once it's outside, it can generate a TEMURAH, even though his kedusha came from the mother. He's not really the source of kedusha of Atanan. We have a mission later. Ain't a vlad a TEMURAH. Only the mother animal, the source, can make the TEMURAH, not the vlad. Hamani Rabbi Yudi, the Amar havlad a TEMURAh. Going like Rabbi Yudi, who says the vlad can make a TEMURAH once he's born. Ask the Gemara, but apparently our mission is not going like Rabbi Yehuda. From a totally different angle. You see, if you look at the last part of our Mishnah, Rabbi says, look, what's wrong with designating the leg of an animal as a TEMURAH? In any case, it's going to spread throughout. Just like when you magdash the leg, it spreads throughout. So TEMURAH works the same way. Tanakam took issue with that. No. And Rashi explains that Tanakam seems to agree on the concept that if you magdash a leg, it spreads throughout. But he says by TEMURAH, no, you have to be magdash a full animal as a TEMURAH. Now, we're labeling our Mishnah as aligned with Rabbi Yehuda because of the previous calculation with the Vlad, right? Well, this point is totally unagreeable to Rabbi Yehuda. He doesn't hold to this. He holds that when you magdash a leg of an animal, it stays the leg. It doesn't spread throughout. Rabbi Yehuda, if the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda, it's not going to work. Mishnah says that if you make TEMURAH on the leg of an animal, TEMURAH you can't make a TEMURAH like that. But if you initiate a Kaddish, you say, I want to take the leg of my animal, make it Kaddish, the whole animal becomes Kaddish, that's not like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda tells us it's not so. Aver like Kaddish, you can't make an Aver Kaddish, meaning it's not going to spread throughout. So how can you say, our Mishnah is like Rabbi Yehuda? Says the Gemara, but hold it. Even Rabbi Yehuda agrees if he designates the liver or the heart or the head, these are vital organs, it does spread throughout. And that's what our Mishnah is talking about as well. So the vital organ can be the entry point for Hegdish, although according to Tanakama, not for TEMURAH. Hachamai Skin here was speaking be'aver regarding a limb, Shanashamat Luiboy, whose life is dependent on that. And if Rabbi Yehuda agrees, if you magdash this type of aver, the kedusha spreads throughout. So it's consistent with our Mishnah. Here comes another kasha on Bar Pada, who says you can't be makadosh an uber on its own. We have a Mishnah later, Magdishin Eivarim, V'ubarin. You could be Magdish an Eivar and an Ubar, Avalim Miran, but you can't turn them into Temurah. It only works by a full animal. So clearly you can be Magdish an Ubar, unlike by Padu says you can. Hachanami Vladi Kachim, says the Gemara. Here too we're speaking about the Vlad of an existing carbon who's getting his Kedusha from the mother. What do you mean? Vlad Kachim, we're speaking about offspring of a carbon, my Magdish. The Mishnah says you can be Magdish the Ubar. What do you mean? Magdishin? How Kaddish become? It's already Kaddish from the mother. We turn to the next Talmud. We have to re-explain the Mishnah as follows. Mishnah means like this: Magdishin Eivar. You could point to the leg of the animal and say, "I want this thing to become an oil. I want the leg to become an oil," and then the kedusha spreads throughout the entire animal, going like that shita. And likewise, you can make temurah in that manner too. What does that mean? Rashi explains. So you have an animal. You say leg kaddish. The whole animal becomes kaddish. Now that you have a full animal that's kaddish, it can generate temurah on a animal of chulin. So that works. That's valid. But let's say you have a animal that's kaddish in front of you, and you take another animal alongside it, and you say the aver of the second animal should become a temurah. That doesn't work. You can't initiate temurah on an aver. And the Mishnah continues. And let's say you have a mother animal, which is kaddish, and an uber within it. You can't use the uber as a temurah generator. Why? Because it's not yet born. So the kasha was that he thought the Mishnah means you can be magdish and uber. That's not what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah means that the uber that already had kedusha because of the mother, that cannot make it temurah. And the kasha was, okay, so because it's unborn, it can't make it temurah? So you mean to say only the unborn carbon can't make a temurah, but let's say it's already born habroi. Once it comes out, avdi they can make a temurah. But the number of a Mishnah, in avlad says in temurah, any vlad of a carbon can't make a temurah. So like we said before, Mani Rabbi Yehuda says that you can. Rabbi Yehuda, hold it. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Eivar Mikachi, Mishnah says you can start kedusha on an Eivar. You can point to the leg of an animal, turn it into an oila, and then it spreads throughout. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees on that. Hold Rabbi Yehuda lastly, it doesn't hold. If a person declares the leg of the animal to be an oila, the whole thing becomes an oila. He disagrees on that. He said, talking about a vital organ. Vital organ does spread throughout. We're speaking that it was Magdish and Aver, which is so important that with its absence, it would make the animal critically ill and a treifa and unsurvivable, in which case, considered a vital organ. And be magdish that is tantamount to be magdish the whole carbon. Okay, so in conclusion, we had a machlokes between Rabbi Yechon, who says you can choose to be magdish and uber separate from the mother; it's a separate life. The Apostle Padu says uber yerach imayu; it's one and the same. You can't separate the two. We had a string of kashas on Apada, which were answered. So, for instance, we concluded that even according to Apada, who holds you can't be magdish the uber as a separate carbon, but you can be magdish it l'damim as a donation. You can do that like any other item. You can. We had that one shot, and then we had another situation which we had to answer that was speaking that the vlad is not kaddish on its own; it was on account of the mother, in which case it certainly has kedusha as well. Okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow, B'ezras Hashem. In the meantime, all the best to you and Hatzlacha.